guys, time for a new ranking video, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to rank all three actors who have played Spider-Man. Normally I rank movies, movie series. This time going for the actors playing a character, and it should be a little bit interesting to see where this goes. But before we kind of dive into our main subject, just want to let you guys know that I do read the comments, so please tell me your rankings down below in the comment section, as well as tell me what movie series or characters or different things would you like me to rank in the future. I do read those. I do consider what you're saying and factor it in. A bunch of you guys have said James Bond requires me to do a little bit of homework, so I have thought about it. I've actually rewatched Dr. No because you guys have recommended it, and so that's coming soon. But like the Terminator, lots of people have asked for it. It's coming in just a couple weeks. I do read it. I do care about your opinion, so let me know down below what series you want me to rank, as well as give me your rankings of the Spider-Man actors, as well as your kind of thoughts on why you put which actors where you put them. With that said, let's go ahead and start talking about Spider-Man and the actors who have played him. Now, before we dive into our main three, I just want to give out a little bit of a shout out to a guy named Nicholas Hammond. He played Peter Parker's Spider-Man in the 70s TV show. Now, I watched this a little bit in reruns when I was growing up. And even back when I was watching it in the, I guess probably early 90s, I was like, woo, this is a little bit rough. But because it was Spider-Man, I kept watching it. It was engaging enough. I don't remember hardly anything about it. But there was an actor before Tobey Maguire that played a live action Spider-Man, Nicholas Hammond. I don't know that he's gone on to do anything else, but he did have his 15 minutes of fame back in the 70s as Spider-Man. Also, I put out a poll out on my Twitter account to ask you guys who you guys think is the best Spider-Man that we have had, looking at the three actors who've played him in the movies, and you can look at the results right here up on screen. With 27 votes as of the time when I filmed this, Andrew Garfield was in last place with 4% of the vote. Tobey Maguire was in second place with 37% of the vote. And with a staggering lead, Tom Holland, number one, 59% of the vote. So pretty clearly, people have taken to Tom Holland as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man. They loved him in Civil War, and then Homecoming only affirmed that first impression that we got, that they really did something special with him. So before I go into my ranking, kind of give you a little bit of history, my experience with Spider-Man. So I grew up going to the comic book shop every Saturday. I'd ride with my bike with my sister to the comic book shop. We'd buy comic books. Around the time, I'm pretty sure she stole all my comic books, and so they're at her house, so I don't have them anymore. So I read Spider-Man comics back in the day, but when I got older and I started transitioning to reading them more as an adult and getting graphic novels and getting into more kind of like the big story arcs as opposed to like single issues and things like that, I gravitated a lot more towards DC comics, and especially Batman, Superman, those kind of the iconic ones. And haven't really gotten into Spider-Man comics as an adult. So as an adult, I've much more resonated with the movie characters and the movie version, just for whatever reason. I don't have any specific negative on Spider-Man. I just gravitated towards Superman and Batman. So that's where I'm bringing into this. I come into it with a certain expectation of what I think should be brought to the character, and a certain sense of he's the high school superhero. He's the guy that is immature. He's the guy that becomes funny when he's Spider-Man. There's kind of the quips to him. So a lot of those aspects I want from the character. And as kind of a side note, so I have those types of thoughts, but it's not this hardcore tied straight to the comic books like I'm a purist. And if I were to attempt to argue that, like, well, in the comic books, I'd be being phony. That would be an inauthentic thing for me to do. With that, and then likewise, I'm rating the actors, not the movies. And even if I rate an actor lower or higher, that doesn't mean I'm making a positive statement necessarily about how well that actor fit in the movie. I'm rating just that actor as Spider-Man. And it's a weird kind of thing because, well, you'll see where I kind of go with this. But I mean, I really love the Raimi films. I love things about the Webb films and the Andrew Garfield films, and I love things about Homecoming. All of them had things as movies that I loved about them, and some of them were obviously much worse than others. Some of them were more fun than others, and some of them were very odd choices in what they did with things. So I'm balancing a lot of things. If you've watched some of my other videos, you might hear me say things here, and you think, is he contradicting himself? I wouldn't call it a contradiction. It's just I'm balancing a lot of different things in my mind as I was thinking through my actual feelings towards how well did this actor portray this character, like the character on the whole of what I'm really looking for in the character. And I have so many complex feelings in all of this. Anyway, enough disclaimers. Put your rankings down below. Tell me what you want me to rank down below. And for me, coming in at number 3, I'm going to go with Tobey Maguire. Now, for me, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 1 or 2 are the 2 best Spider-Man movies we've ever had. And it's not even like, well, those 2 are pretty good, except Tobey's bringing them down. It's not even like that. He fits into those movies fine as things in and of themselves. He fits in this Raimi version of Spider-Man, this Raimi-verse. But if you try and think of all the things that you want from Spider-Man, certain aspects of it, I just don't know that he brings it to the table. And so, like I said, there's a certain sense to which he played a high schooler that never felt like a high schooler. It felt like 26-year-old guy playing a high schooler, being kind of awkward. His awkward and nerdiness felt like this very strange, it's his own Maguireisms as opposed to Peter Parkerisms. And so in the sense of the movie, I don't hold it against the movie, but I hold it against him. And not even the performance, it's the character. Like I said, it's such a weird way to talk about it because the movie itself as an isolated thing he works fine in it. But evaluating based off of my understanding of who Spider-Man should be, it's not quite there. And then likewise, he's not as jokey as you'd want him to be as Spider-Man. And so both aspects of it, whether it be the way Spider-Man is portrayed in the films and whether also the way he's portrayed as the high schooler, as the Peter Parker, none of them are quite as good as I want them to be, as true to certain things I want out of a Spider-Man that I felt in other ways we got out of the other 2 guys a little bit more. Even though perhaps their films aren't as good as these ones, the portrayal itself from him, not all there for me. So I put him at number 3, which I feel like I'm making felt odd when I was like, but that was my honest feelings. I was like, I feel like he's number 3, even though his movies are number 1. And it's not like I'm holding him against the movies. It's complex. I hope maybe you understand what I'm saying when I say all that. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Andrew Garfield. So I have all sorts of mixed feelings on both of the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I thought the first one was a lot better than the second one. I thought the second one was kind of a big, gigantic mess of plot lines. But like Andrew Garfield, I thought portrayed and a very interesting take on Spider-Man for the 21st century. He's not like the 60s comic books. He's not like the Tobey Maguire version, but he portrays him like in certain things of the way younger people work in society. I don't know why I said it like that. He behaves like a high schooler. He behaves like a teenager, maybe college student. He's not super immature, so you can see where maybe he's not quite high schoolery. That's what to phrase that. But there's certain things in there that just he behaves like people I've met, people I've seen, people I interacted with. At the point in time that both those movies came out, I was working with teenagers, and he had things about him that were like teenagers, not necessarily like, and even the idea of like a nerdy teenager today is so different than what it used to mean, because all the sorts of stuff about nerds who like computers and calculators, those aren't nerds anymore. Everyone's into computers and calculators because it's the 21st century and you have to know computers, science, and all sorts of other things to function in a technology age. And so they portrayed him in that sort of way that worked inside the movie. And as Spider-Man, I thought he brought a little bit more of the humor. I've never done a comparison joke for joke, but it felt a little bit more of an improvement. Even the way the character could be portrayed with some modern technology that I brought a little bit to it. There's some certain little slapsticky type things that they had Andrew Garfield do, where he was tripping people up and stuff and shooting webs at different times in the 2 movies, that I thought there was a nice little charm to them. And maybe I'm just totally biased to bump him up to number 2 over number 3 simply because I thought him and Emma Stone were great together. Just on screen, I thought they worked wonderfully. And maybe that's the wrong reason to bump him up. it's my video. I can be as biased as I want, as weird directions as I want. But I mean, I would love it if they announced Marc Webb, Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone are doing like a spiritual sequel, not a direct sequel, but spiritual sequel to 500 Days of Summer. I'd be all about that. I would be so #1 fan of that idea. And so overall, when it came to just ranking all the ingredients of how Spider-Man is, how does he fit in his movie, and how much did I just like him in the movie? I mean, I really liked him in the movie. I didn't necessarily like movies. I didn't necessarily like the movies as much as some of the other ones. Really liked him in it. I thought on the Spider-Man side of things, he brought a little bit more. Peter Parker, not at the truest, purest sense, good Peter Parker, but interpretation for the 21st century that I found interesting. So he gets the #2 spot for me. And if you can do math, and if you can remember 3 names, you know that coming in at #1 is going to be Tom Holland. So right out of the gate, people have loved this guy, and so did I. Just when it comes to the things that you're wanting out of a Peter Parker and a Spider-Man, I felt that they got it right. They brought things to the table that you wanted to see there, of the joking Peter Parker and, jokey Spider-Man and the immature high schooler. That he very much so felt like a weird high school that I've met and interacted with on many different occasions. That's what he felt like. And so just easily was the best Peter Parker in the sense that he just felt like that. Not just like a 21st interesting interpretation like Andrew Garfield was. Certainly not just awkward, weird guy like Tobey Maguire was. But a nice mix of 21st century Peter Parker that really felt like a high schooler. And I love that about that. That's kind of the fact that it felt like it was a movie about a high schooler for high schoolers. And you felt like you were getting the high school, the real high school version of him. Because you had Andrew and you had Tobey in high school, but it never felt high schooly. And so here you get that distinctness of the Spider-Man character as the high school superhero in this movie. So I love that about it. And then likewise, he was able to pull off a lot of the physicality. I mean, if you could seen like the video of him on, lip sync battles or something like that, and he starts doing dance moves and you're going, I didn't realize that guys could move like that, but this guy can move. And he's very extremely athletic. And so a lot of the stuff that's going on, he's a part of this. And even just him as a person has so much excitement for the material and the way he acts that it's difficult to not kind of love Tom Holland. So he's on a nice little streak right now. And so I very much enjoyed his performance in this. And there are things about the movie and their characterization of Spider-Man, especially the Spider-Man suit in Homecoming, that I wasn't so crazy about. There's some odd stuff in there. But he was not the problem. He brought something to it. The way they let him shine, the characterization they worked with, all of that was great. Amazing, spectacular, you might say. So anyway, that's my ranking of them as average movie fan guy that read some comic books back in the 90s, hasn't read too many Spider-Man comics since then. That of all my videos, this is probably the one where it's a little bit more, I'm just kind of shooting from the hip. Like I can't defend it. It's a lot more just gut instinct, what I was feeling, as I really thought about it. That's kind of where I landed. So you could probably convince me to change my mind on this one. Other ones, I'm pretty well thought out in my rankings of the other ones and my analytical stuff. Here, this is much more emotion and gut feeling. So please try and convince me if you think I'm insane or if you like me, like my thoughts on it. That's cool too. Go ahead and tell me your rankings down below. Tell me what you want to rank and want me to rank in the future. And if you're new to my channel, please consider clicking that subscribe button. I do movie reviews. I do ranking videos like the one you're watching right now. But I don't want to just talk about movies and my feelings about them and my thoughts on them. I want to talk about movies with you. So join me in the comment section and thank you for watching.